Good morning, everyone. How are all you ninjas doing out there today? Hope everybody's getting ready for the weekend. Looking forward to hopefully getting outside or getting some fun in. So real quick, let's start with some updates. Next Friday on Ocean Stories, we're back with Dr. Rob Rubin from UC Santa Rosa and the director of the Pacific Manta Research Group. He's going to be giving a talk on the remarkable brains of manta rays and the idea that they may actually have consciousness. But before that, we've got some really great courses coming up this weekend with Donna and Ellen. The next weekend, I'm back with the special weekend of conservation courses. We've got whale conservation, sea turtle conservation, coral conservation, whale shark conservation, a whole pack of them all weekend long. You can find out more info on the courses on the Dive Ninjas website. I can also throw a link in the chat if anyone's interested in all that. But before we get into the next weekend, today we've got an incredible human joining us. He's been one of my personal inspirations over the years, so it's really awesome to have him on Ocean Stories. Octavio is involved in an incredible array of awesome projects, working to better understand and protect our oceans. We could probably run a week's worth of episodes just on the work him and his team are doing across all these different projects. So without further ado, I give you Octavio Aburto. How are you today, mate? How's everything going?
Jay, how are you? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. Let me stop my screen share real quick so you can set up yours and we'll get started. All right.
Very good.
Perfect. Looks great.
Okay, so, well, Jay, thank you very much for this invitation. And I think, yes, yes, thank you for this invitation. And thank you for everyone is connected for this very, very fast journey, photography journey through things that I have been doing, especially connected with the oceans, but also related with things that humans can do in order to protect or change the trend that we are seeing with the oceans. And let me start saying that, or mentioning something that it's very, very important. The ocean, oceans gave us or give us a lot of many services that are very important for us. Of course, they produce 50% of the air that we breathe. They control 70% of the climate of this planet. Many of the things that we transport around the world is done through the oceans. So it's very important that we understand what is happening with the oceans. It's very important that we relate in many ways with the life of the oceans. We should protect this life, and of course we need to start thinking in how we should do especially exploitation of the oceans by fisheries or by mining or by other things. And of course, if we can change or if we can start promoting activities that are more important or that can protect the ocean, this is very good, like the ecotourism. And, you know, many ecosystems are in the oceans or in the transition zone between the land and the oceans, like mangroves, that give us all these services, and we should protect them in order to maintain the future generations and many things that we need for our own survivorship. So mangroves, kelp forest, coral reefs, rocky reefs, all these ecosystems in the oceans are very important, and we should start talking more and more about what is happening with them. So in this journey that I want to share with you, I will mention three things that are very important. First, how the importance of having free flowing rivers in order to maintain wetlands that are the nursery areas for many, many species in the oceans. Why it's important to understand all these areas where fish and other species come to reproduce. And these areas are called, these events are called spawning aggregations. And also I want to share the importance of many species, including the tiny ones like sardines. So let's start this journey by talking about rivers. So most of the time when we think about the oceans, we forgot that the oceans are connected with highlands, and they are connected with the parts very far from the ocean, because the journey of the nutrients that feed the ocean starts in the highest part of this ecosystem. I want to share this story with you. Is the San Pedro Mesquital River that crosses several states in Mexico. It starts in the upper part of the Sierra Madre and flows all the way to the state of Nayarit, that it's in the lower part of the Gulf of California, and it feeds one of the largest coastal lagoons in Mexico. It's called Marismas Nacionales. And this river, why I'm talking about this river, because probably it's the last river that is flowing free in all Mexico. So the majority of the rivers, as is happening around the world, have been dammed. So these rivers have been stopped by different dams, and we are losing many, many things. So this river starts in pine ecosystems, again, in the high parts of the watershed, but this river crosses the jungles in Sinaloa and in Nayarit, and reaches this beautiful wetland in Marismas Nacionales in Nayarit. Is the largest one in Mexico, so you can see all this mangrove forest. And of course, this mangrove forest is the habitat, is the home for many, many species, including crocodiles, including many species that you can see in these wetlands. So why this is important, why this connection is important, because all the nutrients that reaches the lagoon, wetlands, feed all the species that we humans use to obtain our food or to obtain our economic activities like fishing. So these nutrients that are generated in the pine forest feed the shrimp, feed the blue crabs, feed the mojarras. All these nutrients are essential for this life, and of course are essential for many people. And these people, in particular, the inhabitants of a town that is called Boca de Camichin, they understand perfectly the importance of maintaining this connection between the highland and the wetland. So they have one of the most successful aquaculture in Mexico. It's the oyster aquaculture. Everything that you see there, it's a very artisanal aquaculture factory of oysters. And the only thing that they need to do is to plant the seed, plant the larvae of these oysters before the rain season. And they leave the oyster during the whole rain season. All the nutrients that come in from the highland reaches the lagoon, and they don't need to invest in anything. The oysters start filtering all the water, and these nutrients feed them, and they grow very big. And at the end of the rain season, basically they harvest these oysters. So look at, it's very simple, but at the same time, it's very complicated. Why? Because humans always to think that they can do a better job than nature, And in theory, we have been using dams to produce more benefits for humans. The problem is that now we know that these dams are basically changing the face of many of these towns. So if you see all these four rivers, in the mouth of these rivers, they have been very, very dramatic changes. The ones that have been dammed, for example, El Fuerte that was dammed before in the 50s, everything that you see there in red are the changes that these mouth rivers have been suffering in all these years. And you can do the same experiment. You can go to Google Earth and find the mouth of these rivers, and the ones like, for example, the San Pedro Mesquital River that hasn't been dammed. You can see that the mouth is there and continue growing, but the ones that have been dammed have been retrieving because the wave actions. So for example, in the Fuerte, in all the images in the top of this slide, you can see the beautiful mangrove forest that used to be there and now disappear because the erosion when there is no sediments coming or nutrients coming from the highland. So this is the result of a dam. We need to start understanding that there is a lot of connections in the ocean, and rivers and ocean are not separate. So the other topic that I want to mention is these spawning aggregations. And maybe you have seen this picture before. It's a picture that I took in 2012 in this town very close to Cabo San Lucas. It's called Cabo Pumo. It's a place where now it's protected. It's already 25 years of protection. And what you are seeing here with the fish, it's a ritual, or it's a mating behavior that these fish perform every year. So you can think that this is an exclusive behavior of this particular species or this particular place, but not. Actually, many fish species perform the same behavior every time that they reproduce. So you have puffers, you have surgeon fishes, you have snappers, you have trigger fishes. All these species congregate in huge numbers to basically reproduce. In this case, you can see the trigger fishes that mate, and after a mating period, they go down and they create this nest. But again, it's the same behavior, the congregation of many individuals to for the purpose of mating. And we have studied all these or many of these species. And for example, in this paper, we show that 8 of the 10 most important species in the Gulf of California, they reproduce in this behavior. So they have spawning aggregations, and the most important months of their fisheries coincide with these mating seasons. And why? Because basically the fisheries target these species during this phenomena, natural phenomena, and of course, in a very few minutes, you can extract a lot of these species when they congregate in these numbers. So these are different examples of the species that mate. This is the Gulf Curvina that in a very few minutes you can go with a net and extract a lot of these fish. So it's very important to recognize that there are places in the ocean that we should leave them alone because they produce many of the food that we consume. So we need to protect these areas, and we know where these areas are. So let me finish with the third example, or let me finish the examples with this third example, that it's the importance of these species that are called forage fish. So here in forage fish, we can include the herrings, the sardines, the mackerels, the anchovies, All these small species basically are a very, very important connector between the small life in the ocean, like zooplankton and the phytoplankton, the small um, um, animals and plants in the ocean. And these animals connect this world with the macro, with the mega animals in the ocean, like whales, like dolphins, like sharks, like birds. Why? Because basically they feed on the small things, they grow in size, they grow in abundance, and then other fish, other whales can feed them on them. So you have jacks attacking the sardines, you have groupers attacking the sardines, you have, you can name it, yes, squids, sharks, whales, everything feed on the sardines. And they are so, the numbers are so incredible that again, even with all these attacks and this consumption, we still see sardines in the ocean. So birds, sea lions, you name it, you name it. It's very incredible, all this amount of fish that we can see in the ocean, the sardines, the anchovies. There are especially particular places that we know around the planet that these these species reproduce in very, very big numbers, and that is the reason why these areas are known as hotspots for these kind of species. One of these hotspots is the Gulf of California. You can see in this image, all these green areas are the tiny algae that I was referring of. They are called the macroalgae, the phytoplankton, and all this food that again is connected as well with the rivers and with the bottom of the oceans are the food for the sardines. So even that the Gulf of California, it's a desert, inland you can see all these hostile environments, and it's very difficult to live on the islands, on the mainland with many, like for example in the Sonoran Desert, it's very difficult for life to live there. In basically in the oceans, there are areas with a lot of food, especially in the cold years. So sardines and anchovies, they thrive during many of these years. And of course, you have many migratory species that come and feed on these species, and many birds congregate in huge numbers. Sea lions go to that places, and it's really, really an spectacle to see how all these birds are basically feeding when this abundance of sardines happens, especially during the springtime. So this is very close to Bahia de Los Angeles in the upper Gulf of California, and it's here where you can see all these terns congregating, uh, not only to feed on sardines, also to have their chicks to nest in some of the islands. In particular, there is one island that I will show you pictures that is called Isla Rasa, and this tiny island, it's a very spectacular island because you can see between seagulls and terns, you can see 500,000 birds feeding on anchovies, on sardines, and it's really, really a huge spectacle. Why they come here? Well, they know that there will be a lot of food for them, and at the same time, there will be a lot of food for their chicks. So the males, for example, they catch one of these anchovies or sardines and then go to the island. They find a mate. They perform dances. They perform. They try to to conquer, to mate with many birds. So you can see all these mating behavior as well before the nesting moment. And once everyone have their mate, their pair, they come and nest in these huge numbers in this island. So you can see here all the chicks and all the parents nesting in this magnificent event. So scientists have calculated that in order to maintain this all these birds, it is important to have a lot of sardines, a lot of anchovies. So every day they need to consume like 60 tons of sardines. So they have a huge competitor. Who is the huge competitor? Humans. Because one boat in this fishing industry, in order to get all these sardines, they just in one throw, they can extract 60 tons. So there are around 50 boats in the region. So every night they can extract like 3,000 tons of sardines. And this is not the most important problem. The biggest problem is that they use this sardine to burn them and basically extract oil and create fish meal in order to feed other animals like chickens, pigs, and cows. And in doing this transformation, basically we lost or we lose a lot of all this energy that the ocean has invested in producing all this sardine. So this is the other biggest problem that we have. These are the three things that I wanted to mention. These are the three things that we should care about what is happening in the ocean. And my final conclusion, and let me finish with a conclusion, is that we should start imagining a different destiny. How we can do things that don't finish in the three things that I just show you. And I think we have examples, and the example that I want to mention is as well Cabo Pumo that I already mentioned. The people from Cabo Pumo, they thought 5 years ago that their destiny should be different of all the things that I have mentioned. So Juan Castro, Maria Castro, Juanito, Kiki, Mario, all of them, they say, we should protect the ocean, we should protect our land, and rather to destroy it, let's take care about that. And it's a magnificent town. You can see in some moments of the year, you can see pictures like this. It's a sunset in November. It's unbelievable how the sky turned red. But the most important thing about Cabo Pumo is this black thing that you can see in the ocean. These are volcanic ridges, volcanic dikes that create the habitat for many, many species. And scientists, including me, we have been studying this area since many years ago, and we demonstrated that when fishermen decided to stop fishing, they can recover the marine life. And in just in the first 10 years, 14 years of the creation of this national park, all the animals, the size of the animals, the number of the animals came back in an amazing way. So you can see the groupers, you can see the grunts in abundances that are unbelievable, and the whole marine life came back. And this is important because now the fishermen, rather than continue overfishing these reefs, these beautiful reefs, they are bringing more and more people to enjoy this life. In the 80s, Jacques Cousteau said that the Gulf of California was the aquarium of the world. I don't think that term applies anymore in many areas of the Gulf of California. But if you come to Cabo Pumo and you see all this life, including the return of the big fish like sharks, I think this is what Jacques Cousteau in the 80s, the 70s saw in the Gulf of California. And now now I understand why he called it in that way. And thanks to the people of Cabo Pumo with this visionary uh, or with this vision that they have for their town, many people can now come back and dive with or do dives in the same way that Jacques Cousteau did it in the 80s. So these are some of the stories that I wanted to share with you today. If you want to know more about these kind of stories, please visit us. I am coordinating a group that is called Mares Mexicanos, so you can see many stories in our channels, and of course we are um, collaborating with great partners like Jay and his group, Ninja Divers, and we want to share many of these stories about Mexico. We have doing as well many of these live shows, and of course we will have Jay in the future in our channel. But the most important thing is to share all these stories, because more and more people need to know about what is happening with the oceans in order to care about our future. So thank you very much.
Awesome, man. That was incredible. Thank you so much. Beautiful shots too. Really, really beautiful words and beautiful shots. So everyone, if you want to ask, if you have any questions for Octavio or anything like that, you can click on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and type them in, and we'll read them out to him and all that. And also some people had messaged on the chat asking for information on the photography course. So I'm gonna that was in the poll. So let me shoot that link to the chat. So it should be in everyone's chat. Cool. Got a couple questions starting to come in already. So let's start off. Sue asks, she says, amazing pictures. I have a question on the spawning and sardine aggregations. Are these getting smaller or larger in the last few years outside of Cabo Pomo?
So I think in some places we see these congregations, they last more time, and they last in the way that they should last, because once they arrive to these places like Cabo Pumo or Los Islotes in very close to La Paz City, north to Espiritu Santo, because there is no fishing in these areas, we see these aggregations, they last longer. I believe that in the entire region, the sardine population is going down. Why? Because I think the sardine fishery has been extracting more sardines of what the environment, the ocean, the Gulf of California can support. For that reason, we are seeing a higher variability in the abundance of these resources. But it is important to reduce the exploitation of this group, because if we have more sardines, we will see more of everything: more sharks, more marlins, more dorados, more mahi-mahi, more dolphins, more whales. Actually, there are studies now in other parts of the world connecting the bad nutrition that whales have in some regions because the lack of this resource already, because there has been a huge extraction from fisheries.
Taking them out, it's incredible, but not incredible in a bad way. In a way, you know what I mean? Like to see how that such a small fish makes massive impact across the entire ecosystems. You know what I mean? And how removing them and cutting down the amounts of them starts to just cut down everything that's available within the same area or an ecosystem and everything like that. It's really heartbreaking, but incredible at the same time. Awesome. So Christine asks, she says, I would love to visit Cabo Pomo. Where is it located? And the volcanic lines that are in the ocean there, have they increased or decreased as time goes on?
No, that is a geological feature. I think the estimation of the geologic age of these dikes, it's, if I remember correctly, like 2 million years. Um, yeah, or probably less. The Gulf of California is around 5 million years. So um, these are this is a feature, geologic feature. It's very difficult to work with these dikes, but they are not growing or changing in a very fast way. However, the position of the dikes that are run almost parallel to the coast function as the same way like a coral reef in the Caribbean or in Australia. So the oceanography of that area, it's very unique. And the settlement of corals and the oceanographic dynamic behaves in a way that many people have called this area like the northern coral reef in the tropical Eastern Pacific. And it's in fact is not a true coral reef, but the system function in that way. There is a lot of corals that they are different from the ones that form reefs, but the dikes help to create an environment similar like a coral reef.
That's really interesting. I've always wondered that because you do hear it. You hear it, some people say it's the northernmost reef and everything, and then others say that it's not a reef at all, that it's just a feature that happens to make the same effect as a reef. It's really interesting.
Exactly.
Awesome. And then also just to ask Christine, or just to answer Christine's other question, Cabo Pomo is located here in Baja. It's about 2 hours away from Cabo San Lucas on the Sea of Cortez side, on the eastern side of the peninsula. Really amazing place. Definitely recommend checking it out. It is incredible, incredible diving, and just incredible to see how much it's changed, like to go, you know, the amount of biodiversity and biomass and everything in this tiny little town, and how well it's protected, and like how well the community there works to, you know, keep it like this and to keep it growing and bringing it back. It is an astonishing place. Awesome. See, anyone else have any other questions or anything like that? We can see. I think everybody's quiet today. They're getting ready for the weekend, ready to run out.
Everybody will go out.
Exactly. They're
Very
excited
soon
to get moving. They're like, it's Friday. Awesome. Well, Octavio, I think that's all the questions we got. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for coming by and teaching us about this and everything.
Yes, Jay, and I hope that these presentations, this series, it's the beginning of more interactions with the public, with divers that want to know more about this the oceans. And I hope that in the future we can bring many of these divers that want to know more, but also they want to take action about these things, and together we can change the destiny of many things that we are seeing in the ocean. So I think if everybody understand the importance of many of these things, and of course if we collaborate, maybe we can create many Cabo Pumos, not only in Mexico, also all around the world.
No, I completely agree. I think that's the way to go. I think more people that get involved and more people that are learning and interesting, I think we can all together make massive change, you know, throughout the world. So it's awesome. Really, really good. And I mean, you guys are already doing incredible work, and we're happy, I mean, to obviously help you in any way we can and all that. I hope to see you in Cabo this time. Next time you come down, I missed you last time. So next time you're in town, hopefully we can link up and everything, and I'll be here and all that. So stay safe. Thank you, everybody that tuned in today and all that. We'll see you next week when we're back. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks again, Octavio. We'll see you soon. Talk to you soon, brother. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.